using the courts to bully the press and his critics. That's the reputation that former House Intelligence Committee Chairman and Trump ally Devin Nunes seems to be trying to build. In 2.5 years, the California congressman and his family have launched at least 8 defamation suits against journalists, media companies, and even some Twitter users, including one anonymous handle supposedly run by his cow, which is utterly ridiculous. Nunes and his family's suits have requested more than $500 million in damages, and most cases have been dismissed or withdrawn, but some remain active. Like Nunes' lawsuit against CNN, which was dismissed but remains under appeal. But with all these lawsuits, which can typically cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, it begs the question, how is a congressman who makes $174,000 a year paying for all this? And it's worth noting that unlike millionaire congressmen who could self-fund these suits, Nunes' owned assets are valued in a range between $145,000 and $350,000, according to his latest financial disclosure. It is a fair and important question, with a curious twist that came to light recently amid a lawsuit between journalist Ryan Lizza and Nunes' family. Nunes himself had sued Lizza for defamation, but while that case was dismissed, though Nunes appealed, one suit brought by his family members went on. Now, Lizza's attorneys sought to compel Nunes' family to provide this information, saying they have, quote, failed to answer questions regarding who is paying for this lawsuit, which calls into question who's the true party of interest in this case. A Business Insider uncovered a poorly redacted version of this filing, which shows that Nunes' own brother says he has, quote, no idea who is paying for that lawsuit. An insider reports that lawyers for Hearst, which published the article, and Lizza, wrote that members of Nunes' family paid just $500 to their attorneys for the suit. While the mystery around the funding of Nunes' family's lawsuit continues, a larger one remains. How is Congressman Nunes funding his own lawsuits? Because in early 2020, the Campaign Legal Center filed a complaint to the Office of Congressional Ethics, asking for an investigation into how Nunes' lawsuits are being funded. In a statement to CNN, the senior director of ethics at CLC said, congressional rules are clear that lawmakers cannot receive free legal services unless the source and amount are publicly disclosed. All of the known facts shows that Representative Nunes is accepting extensive free legal services, and he has not publicly provided any evidence to dispute this. All that is to say that we don't know who might be funding these suits. It could be Nunes. It could be that his lawyer, Stephen Biss, is representing him with the expectation of receiving contingency fees if Nunes wins. Or it could be an unknown third party, which would raise ethical questions for Nunes. What's clear is that there are big questions, both in and out of court, about how Nunes is able to sustain this legal campaign to supposedly silence or intimidate the media and his perceived critics. We reached out to Nunes and his lawyer Biss for comment of the story on Friday. Both parties did not respond to those requests. But big picture, make no mistake, this kind of lawfare against journalists is on the rise, forcing the free press and sometimes individual journalists to spend money defending itself in court, with the intended goal of having a chilling effect. It's a strategy often deployed by Russian oligarchs to silence unfavorable media coverage, particularly in the UK. And of course, Donald Trump's own campaign deployed similar tactics. Now, in a deposition for the Ryan Lizza lawsuit, lawyers for Hearst say Nunes regaled about the libel strategy to employ a nationwide assault on journalists and media organizations. Business Insider also claims that in the poorly redacted filing, Nunes said, now my policy is, and I have a new policy, that if you defame or slander me, I will take you to court. Joining me now to discuss all of this is Republican strategist Liz Mayer. She's been named in 2 of Nunes' lawsuits, both of which were dismissed. And NPR's media correspondent David Folkenflik. It's good to have you both on this important topic. Liz, many could describe these suits as SLAPP suits, which stands for Strategic Lawsuits Against Public Participation. Given your experience, do you consider this tactic a form of harassment?
I'm not sure I would necessarily say harassment, I guess partly because I would have to feel, I think, a little bit more personally put upon here than what I myself have. But with that being said, I think it's pretty clear that what Congressman Nunes is doing here is he is trying to use litigation as a cudgel to stifle my free speech and that of others. I emphasize try because he has been unsuccessful in doing so, so far as I am concerned. My view on this is that the First Amendment gives me a right to speak out and to be critical of politicians, and I intend to use that right fully. Free speech is fundamental in this society.
It is indeed fundamental. I want to just give quantify a sense of how much these suits cost you in terms of time and money?
Yeah, so in terms of money, I'm very fortunate that I have pro bono representation here, and that has minimized how much this has cost me. I can't give you a hard dollar figure, partly because I'm actually waiting on an invoice to come through from one of my counsel on this. What I will say is that when I initially talked to people after I found out that he would be suing me, this was in the $250 million lawsuit. There are two, that one and the $150 million lawsuit. I was told that likely just to get to the point of discovery, probably in that lawsuit, just to get through that, probably would have cost me something in the range of $50,000 to $60,000. So obviously that's a fairly substantial amount. And I think that's relevant here because ultimately I have gone ahead with this and I have fought this and I have refused to shut up and have my free speech stifled. But I think there are a lot of other people out there who would be really daunted and really fearful about that amount and instead would prefer to shut up and would prefer to stay silent and not be critical of elected officials.